If I had known that saying yes to one innocent Valentine's Day invitation would almost cost me my life, I would have run and never looked back. But I didn't. And that's why I'm here telling you this story, so you don't make the same mistake I did.
So, besties, before the story begins, I want you to listen carefully because what happened to Adaora could happen to anyone, even me. This is not just a story, it's actually a warning.
My name is Adaora, and I grew up in a home filled with love, discipline, and strong values. My parents raised me to be respectful, cautious, and focused on my future. My father, a retired military officer, always warned me about the dangers of bad company. My mother, a devoted teacher, never failed to remind me that a good name is better than riches. I was their only daughter, their pride, their jewel, and they did everything to protect me. I had spent most of my life in a strict boarding school where there was little exposure to the outside world. When I gained admission into the university, it felt like a dream come true. My parents were proud, but my father sat me down the night before I left and spoke words I should have taken more seriously. Adaora, you are stepping into a new world. Not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. Be careful of the company you keep. Yes, Daddy, I said, rolling my eyes playfully. I mean it, he insisted. Some people are like snakes in human form. They will laugh with you, but set traps for your downfall. Ada, be prayerful, my mother added softly. Stay away from wayward girls. Focus on your studies and make us proud. I nodded. I thought they were just being overly protective. If only I had listened. I arrived at the university, full of excitement. The hostel was buzzing with girls moving in, laughing, chatting loudly. My room 213, was at the far end of the corridor. As I entered, I saw two girls inside, unpacking. One was fair-skinned, with long artificial lashes and bright red lipstick, Cynthia. The other was dark, curvy, and had her hair styled in a short, stylish cut, Bissy. They turned to look at me. Hey, new roommate, Cynthia grinned, tossing her makeup brush aside. Welcome, babe. Hope you like noise because this room is not a quiet zone, Bissy added with a wink. I smiled politely. Nice to meet you. I'm Adaora. Ada, Cynthia repeated, inspecting me like I was an experiment. You look like a good girl type. A real daddy's girl, Bissy added with a chuckle. I laughed nervously, unsure if that was a compliment or an insult. Anyway, we are all roommates now, Cynthia said. Just so you know, we have 2 rules in this room. 1. No forming, acting like you're better than us. 2. You must have fun, and when I say fun, I mean real fun. I didn't know what she meant by real fun, but I just nodded. That night I heard them whispering about parties and boys. I ignored them. I wasn't here for that. I was here to study. But I should have known that they had other plans for me. At first, they didn't bother me much. I spent most of my time attending lectures, studying, and calling my parents. But as the weeks passed, they started trying to change me. One evening I was reading when Cynthia groaned. Ada, why are you always with your books? You don't have a social life. I enjoy reading, I replied. You need to loosen up, Bissy said, chewing gum loudly. You don't even have a boyfriend. I'm not interested, I said, turning a page in my textbook. See this one, oh, Cynthia scoffed. You think being a good girl will help you in this school? Let me tell you, the world doesn't reward innocence. That's your opinion, I replied, trying not to be rude. They exchanged glances. I felt their eyes on me, watching, plotting. It was a Saturday evening, about 3 weeks before Valentine's Day. I was in the hostel, curled up on my bed, reading a novel when Cynthia burst into the room, grinning widely. "Ada," she called, "drop that boring book. We have a surprise for you." I sighed, already exhausted by their constant need for drama. I bookmarked my page and looked up. "What is it this time?" Bissy waltzed in behind her, holding a small gift bag. "You'll love this one," she cooed. "I doubt it," I muttered under my breath. Cynthia rolled her eyes and grabbed my hands. "Come with us, just for 5 minutes." "Where?" I asked suspiciously. "Downstairs. There's someone we want you to meet." My body stiffened. I didn't like surprises, and I especially didn't like the mischievous twinkle in Cynthia's eyes. "Who?" I pressed. Bissy nudged Cynthia, giggling. "He's a big man, rich, handsome, generous. He saw your picture and liked you." My heart sank. "Excuse me?" I said, standing up. "Relax," Cynthia laughed. "It's not that deep. He's just a friend of ours. He owns a nightclub in town and wants to meet a decent girl for something serious." I stared at them in disbelief. "You're trying to set me up with a club owner?" "Oh my God, Ada, you are so dramatic," Bissy groaned. "We're just introducing you. Nobody is forcing you to marry him." "No," I said firmly. They blinked. "No," Cynthia repeated as if she didn't understand the meaning of the word. "No, I'm not interested," I said, folding my arms. Bissy scoffed. "Ada, don't be silly. You don't even know him." "And I don't want to know him," I snapped. "Why would you even think I'd be interested in a random man just because?" "He's rich," Cynthia huffed. "Wow, you're acting like we asked you to sell your kidney." "Exactly," Bissy added. "We're trying to help you. Do you know how many girls are praying for an opportunity like this?" "Well, I'm not one of them," I shot back. Their smiles disappeared. The room suddenly felt tense. "So you think you're better than us?" Cynthia asked coldly. "What?" "No," I exclaimed. Bissy smirked. "Look at you, little Miss Perfect, acting all holy like you don't need money. You think good girls like you will make it in this life?" I felt my face heat up. "I came here to study, not to chase men for money." Cynthia rolled her eyes. "You'll regret this. The world doesn't favor girls like you." I ignored her and turned my back, returning to my book. They stormed out, slamming the door. I should have known that my refusal wouldn't be the end of it. I should have realized they weren't done with me yet. After that night, everything changed. Cynthia and Bissy, who had once been annoyingly friendly, suddenly became cold toward me. The laughter and gossip we used to share, though I had never fully participated, turned into whispering and side-eyes. At first, I thought they would get over it, but I was wrong. One evening, as I returned from my evening lectures, I walked into the room to find them chatting in low voices. The moment I entered, they stopped talking and exchanged glances. "What's up?" I asked casually. "Nothing," Cynthia said, pursing her lips. Bissy smirked. "Just talking about how some people act like saints but will soon realize the world is not a church." I sighed and ignored them. It wasn't worth the argument. But the little things started adding up. They stopped including me in conversations, making it clear I was an outsider. My toiletries and snacks started going missing. When I asked about them, Cynthia shrugged and said, "Maybe the Holy Spirit took them." One night, while I was asleep, I overheard them talking about me. "She thinks she's special," Bissy sneered. "Let's see how special she feels after Valentine's Day," Cynthia replied. My eyes snapped open, but I kept still, pretending to be asleep. My heart pounded. What did they mean? I should have asked. I should have pressed for answers. But I didn't, and that was my mistake. 2 days later, I met Daniel. He didn't look like trouble. In fact, he looked like the exact opposite. Quiet, soft-spoken, always carrying a small Bible. The first time we spoke was in the library. He tapped my desk gently and said, "Sorry, are you done with this textbook?" I looked up, slightly surprised. Most of the boys I had met in school were either too forward or too loud. Daniel seemed different, respectful, almost shy. "You can use it," I told him, sliding the book toward him. "Thank you." "God bless you," he replied with a warm smile. That simple moment became the beginning of something I never expected. We started greeting each other after lectures. Then we discovered we were in the same course. He would save a seat for me in the reading hall, and I would share my notes with him. Conversations that started with, "Have you read chapter 6?" slowly turned into, "How are you today?" Daniel talked a lot about church, discipline, and purpose. He quoted scriptures effortlessly. "You're very focused," he once told me. "It's rare to find someone who still values studying." I smiled. "I just don't like distractions." "Good," he nodded. "Distractions destroy destiny." Those words stayed with me. For the first time since I entered the university, I felt seen, not judged, not pressured, just understood. We began reading together almost every evening. Sometimes we even prayed before closing our books. It felt safe, familiar, like home. Weeks passed and I became comfortable, too comfortable. One Friday afternoon after class, Daniel walked up to me and said, "My roommate traveled. I was thinking, we could study at my place today. It's quieter than the library." I hesitated. Something small stirred inside me, a tiny warning I ignored. "Just for a few hours," he added quickly. "I promise." I convinced myself it was harmless. After all, this was Daniel, the church boy, the one who always talked about morals. What could possibly go wrong? His room was neat, Bible verses framed on the wall, soft gospel music playing in the background. At first, everything was normal. We opened our books, discussed assignments, even laughed at a difficult question. But then, the atmosphere changed. Daniel shifted closer to me. Too close. "You know," he said softly, "you're really beautiful." I straightened. "Thank you, but let's focus on the work." He chuckled and reached for my hand. "Relax. I'm not a stranger." My heart began to race. This wasn't the Daniel I knew in the library. His grip tightened slightly and his smile changed. "Daniel, I think I should go," I said, pulling my hand away. "So soon?" he asked, stepping in front of me. "You don't trust me." Fear rose in my throat. My instincts screamed at me. Without thinking twice, I pushed past him, grabbed my bag, and hurried toward the door. He called my name, but I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. And that was how I avoided Daniel for life.
Quick one, guys. Have you ever ignored a warning sign before? If you're watching this right now, trust your instincts. They are there for a reason. And if this story is actually speaking to you right now, then don't forget to like and stay with me till the end.
2 days before Valentine's Day, something strange happened. BC and Cynthia suddenly became nice to me again. "Ada, let's forget the past," Cynthia said, smiling. "Yes, so," BC chimed in. "We were just joking with you before. No hard feelings." I stared at them, suspicious. After weeks of being cold, now they want to be friends again? "What do you want?" I asked bluntly. Cynthia feigned shock. Can't someone just be nice?" "We just feel bad about everything," Bissy added. Let's start over, please. I hesitated. Something felt off. Fine, I said, still wary, but deep inside I knew something bad was cooking. I just didn't know how bad it would be. Then the deal day came. Valentine's Day fever was everywhere. Boys buying gifts, girls flaunting roses, love songs blasting from speakers. Ada, you're too fine to be single, Cynthia said that evening while painting her nails. You need to go on a date, BC added, smiling sweetly. I shook my head. I'm not interested. But they didn't stop. For hours, they kept pressuring me. Just one date. You don't even have to like the guy. Just eat, talk, and go home. He's rich, handsome, and from a good home. Don't be boring, Ada. Live a little. I should have listened to my instincts, but their words got to me. Okay, I finally said. Just this night. Nothing more. They grinned like cats that had caught a mouse. That evening, before we left the house, I received a call from my mother. Adaora, my spirit is restless. Are you okay? Her voice was filled with worry, and it sent a shiver down my spine. I'm fine, Mummy, I assured her. Are you sure? She pressed. I had a bad dream about you last night. Please, whatever you do, be careful today. I wanted to tell her about Cynthia and BC. I wanted to tell her about the strange whispers and the fake apology. But I didn't want to worry her. I will, Mummy. I promise, I said. We ended the call, and I went on to make the worst mistake of my life. Cynthia and Bissy helped me dress up. They picked out a red gown, shorter than I was comfortable with. Wow, you look like a goddess, Cynthia clapped, but deep inside I felt uneasy. Where exactly are we going? I asked. Just a private restaurant. You'll love it, Bissy said with a wink. I hesitated, but allowed them to lead me outside. A black-tinted car was waiting. Your date sent a driver for you, Cynthia said. I should have run, but I got in. The driver said nothing. The road grew darker. Where are we going? I whispered. Cynthia laughed. Ada, relax. You worry too much. My hands turned cold. My heartbeat increased. Then the car stopped in front of a dark building. And that was when I knew. I was in danger. I turned to run, but Bissy grabbed my arm. Stop acting stupid, Ada, she hissed. Two men stepped out from the shadows. She's the one? One of them asked. Yes, Bissy answered, avoiding my eyes. I froze. Why? What did I do to you? I choked out. Cynthia scoffed. You think you're better than us, always forming a good girl. Let's see how decent you'll be after this night. I couldn't breathe. My own roommates had set me up. I had two choices, give up or fight. I chose to fight. With all my strength, I stomped on one man's foot and bit his hand. He howled in pain. I ran. Catch her! Cynthia screamed. Branches scratched my skin. My heels broke, but I kept running. Then, headlights. A car. I threw myself in front of it, waving desperately. It screeched to a stop. A man jumped out. What's going on? I collapsed, sobbing. Please help me. The men chasing me disappeared into the darkness. I was safe. After my narrow escape that night, I was taken to the police station by the kind man who had saved me. My hands were still trembling, my heart still racing. My red dress was torn, my feet were scratched from running barefoot. But I was alive. The moment I walked into the police station, the officers knew something was wrong. Young lady, what happened? One of them asked. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. I was too shaken, too overwhelmed. Take your time, another officer said gently. I took a deep breath, and then I told them everything. From how I met Cynthia and BC, to the constant pressure, to how they lured me into their trap. The officers listened in silence, their faces growing harder with each word. "Do you know the full names of these girls?" one officer asked. "Yes," I said. "Good," he said. "We're going to find them." And that was exactly what they did. When my parents arrived at the station, my mother hugged me tight. "I warned you about bad friends," nodded, tears streaming down my face. "You are lucky," the officer told me. "Many girls don't make it out alive." The police arrested Cynthia and Bissy the next day. A full investigation was launched. It turned out that the date Cynthia and Bissy had arranged for me was not a date at all. It was a setup. They had sold my pictures to some dangerous men who paid them to deliver a decent girl. After their plan with Daniel failed in my life, they had planned to disappear after the act was done, leaving me to my fate. But I escaped, and now the law was after them. During the trial, they tried to play the victim, but the evidence was overwhelming, and they were finally sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. After that experience, I became a different person. I was wiser, smarter, more careful. I no longer trusted easily. I no longer ignored red flags. And most importantly, I listened to my instincts. Girls, be careful. Not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. One mistake can cost you everything. I survived, but not everyone does.
Besties, if this story touched you in any way, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might need the reminder. And if you want more stories like this on African Tales by Chinua, then subscribe and stay with us. You never know which story might save a life. Thank you.